Welcome back each and everyone watching Mama Rugagasawa television. Thank you for being with us. You're going to be with me, Kamikaze Gislaine. Now let's kick off with the news headlines. Rwanda's industrial sector records strong growth as government expands investment. Fatal motor vehicle crash leaves 1 dead, 9 injured in Kamanyi district. On the international news, Guinea Supreme Court confirms Doumbouya'S presidential election victory. Now let's take a short break. We're back on the news details. Welcome back. Let's start our news in Rwanda. Today, a serious road accident has claimed 1 life and injured 9 others in Kamanyi district, Rugarika sector. Emergency responders rushed to the scene where a collision involving 3 vehicles took place. Officials confirmed that 1 person died in the crash, while 9 others sustained injuries and were taken to nearby health facilities for treatment. Police and rescue teams worked swiftly to clear the wreckage and manage traffic as shocked residents gathered nearby. The condition of the injured is being monitored, and authorities say investigations are underway to determine the cause of the collision. Road safety remains a critical concern nationwide, with officials continue to urge motorists to follow traffic regulations and prevent such tragedies. Moving ahead, Rwanda's industrial sectors continue to show strong growth driven by increased investment and expanding production capacity. Recent figures show that mining and quarrying grew by 4.1%, manufacturing by 4.9%, electricity by a notable 14.1%, while water and sanitation increased by 6.6%. Manufacturing growth was largely supported by higher processing of beverages, tobacco, and plastics. However, declines were recorded in textiles, leather, wood, paper, and printing industries. The government says industrial development remains a top priority. Plans are underway to expand industrial zones nationwide to boost production and job creation. In Rwamagana, the industrial park will be expanded from 80 to 180 hectares, hosting new factories, including a textile plant. In Musanze, a steel factory producing 300,000 tons annually has been established. Authorities also plan a 500 billion Rwanda francs industrial fund to support exports, mining, and value-added industries as Rwanda positions itself as a regional manufacturing hub. Now let's take a short break to be back on the international news.
Yego nshuti bakunzi rero mukurikira ibiganiro byacu Scovia Fashion Shop munoneho kugira ngo muyibone uraturuka kuri Rwanda Revenue hari akarenge kanditsemo Scovia Fashion Shop
muri nyubako ya Mike
muri Mike ako karenge kari mwibara ritukura iyo urebye hasi ibara ritukura ribona harimo numero za telefone wahamagara ako karenge kanditsemo Scovia Fashion ugakurikire karakujyana mu iduka ngo pi
Welcome back on the international news. Guinea's Supreme Court on Sunday validated an overwhelming presidential election victory for junta chief Mamadi Doumbouya, crediting him with 86.72% of votes. Sandra Tumukunde has more to this story.
Let's start with international news in Africa. Guinea's Supreme Court on Sunday validated an overwhelming presidential election victory for junta chief Mamadi Doumbouya, crediting him with 86.72% of votes. This confirms provisional result announced earlier last week following the December 28 election that excluded position heavyweight from the ballot. The lineup Abdoulaye Balde won 6.59% of the vote, also unchanged from the provisional result. Balde, who had challenged the election result in filing with the Supreme Court, had since voluntarily withdrawn the complaint. The court's first president, Fode Bogula, said as he announced the final election toll. In his first address to the nation after official results were released, Doumbouya adopted an unifying tone. Mamadi Doumbouya came to power in 2021 coup that ousted President Alpha Condé. This year's presidential election was widely seen as a means to legitimize his stay in power. Turning to our next story, Venezuela's deposed leader Nicolas Maduro was due in a New York court on Monday to face drug charges, while UN was scrutinizing the legality of U.S. President Donald Trump's extraordinary operation to capture him. In the biggest U.S. invasion in Latin America since the 1989 invasion of Panama, special forces swooped into Caracas on helicopters at the weekend to smash through Maduro's security cordon and nab him at the door of the safe room. Maduro loyalists remain in charge of Venezuela, first spotting dishes, then pivoting to possible cooperation. Though denouncing Maduro was a dictator and drug kingpin who funded the US with cocaine, Trump has made no bones about wanting to share in Venezuela's oil riches. It has the world's largest reserves, about 303 billion barrels, mostly heavy oil in the Orinoco region. But the sector has long been in decline from mismanagement, underinvestment, and US action, averaging 1.1 million BPD output last year, a sort of tide in the 1970s. Now, concluding our international news, the European Union's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas called for deterrent by all actors and able to respect international law in a statement published this Sunday night as the United States remained vocal on its future plans for Venezuela after the dramatic outsitting of Nicolas Maduro. The statement read by Callas was supported by 26 out of 37 European Union member states, with only Hungary putting out. Budapest is a close ally of US President Donald Trump, who over the weekend described the military operation that brought down Maduro as brilliant and suggested the US would land Venezuela on an interim basis without specifying an end date. The statement is the closest the European Union has come to joint position after a weekend of vague and often contradictory statements from European Union leaders. This is the end of our international news. My name is Alessandra Tumukunde, and this is Memorial South TV.
As we come to the end of the news edition, let's remind you of the top stories that we talked about. Rwanda's industrial sector records strong growth as government expands investment. Fatal motor vehicle crash leaves 1 dead, 9 injured in Kamanyi district. On the international news, Guinea's Supreme Court confirms Doumbouya'S presidential election victory. And this marks the end. Stay tuned.